This and all talks at the 2020 JavaScript for WordPress conference are brought to you in part by our sponsors Frontend and GoDaddy Pro. Frontend is the easiest way to create performant websites using WordPress and React. It connects both seamlessly so you can focus on building your site instead of all the tooling and configuration. Open source and free to use. GoDaddy Pro Hosting offers a robust suite of free tools to web developers and designers to help them save time managing all their clients and sites. Your free membership also includes advanced 24/7 technical support.
Okay, so a little about me before we go on. I'm a software developer at Sandbox Technologies, and I'm also the convener of Kids That Code. Kids That Code is an initiative that encourages kids to start coding early. I'm also a WordPress plugin developer, an active member of WordPress Lagos community for past 4 years and counting. So that's shout out to Precious. I've hosted a couple of WordPress events, and I'm also a one-time speaker at WordCamp Lagos, and also this initiative that Mary and I decided to pull off for high school in Lagos to teach them WordPress. So let's get into it. WordPress is, of course, a long time with I like to describe it as this because for a very long time, WordPress has actually been there for so many of us. And I'm sure, like, in terms of web development, WordPress has been something that so many of us have been using for a long time. And right straight up from the older versions to what we are all enjoying right now, which is version 5.4.2. I'm sure we've all been loving WordPress for a long time. It's a known fact that WordPress presently powers over 30% of the web. This means that WordPress is, of course, here to stay. Because I've been hearing a lot of people say some things that are not so nice about WordPress and say things like, it's getting extinct, people are using different things now, and we're all going to stop using WordPress soon. But of course, that's a lie, because every day WordPress is evolving. And I also want to say thank you to everyone that has been supporting the WordPress community, everyone that has been contributing, WordPress developers, contributors, and everybody doing a fantastic job with WordPress. So let's move on. React, a JavaScript goodie, which I want to describe as a gift from JavaScript. So there are so many other JavaScript libraries apart from React, but for this talk, we're going to be focusing on React and WordPress. So JavaScript is making so much waves right now, and no doubt, JavaScript is like one of the very popular frameworks that everybody's using. React, rather, it's one of the very popular JavaScript framework that everybody's using. So as a developer, for you to get a decent job, you have to know some amount of JavaScript. You can't deny that it's very important. So React is a JavaScript library for building user interface. There's so many other JS libraries like this, but like I said, we'll be focusing on React.js. We have Vue, we have Gatsby, which some people have talked about in their previous talks. So headless WordPress now. This practice of using WordPress as a headless CMS for your Jamstack site. REST APIs are like my favorite features of WordPress because it takes your development in WordPress to like a whole new level. It's like when I start working with REST APIs, it's like what can't be done with WordPress is super crazy and so interesting. Because when I finally got introduced to WordPress REST APIs, I found out that WordPress was way beyond just doing designing with themes. Okay, because at first I started with designing with themes and building just normal websites that everybody sees around. But when I finally found out that there are so much more aspects of WordPress and REST APIs being one of the important parts of WordPress, I realized that, okay, this is actually very interesting. So Headless WordPress takes advantage of these REST APIs and separates its context from the front end that displays it. Reacting to WordPress. Now that we've established the power of WordPress and React, we can talk about how they can be combined to build whatever we want. In order to achieve this, we'll be using our WordPress site in the form of JSON data. Like I said in my slides, keep calm, it's actually really, really easy. So for you to get your WordPress site in the form of a JSON data, what you need to do is simply need to append wp-json to the root domain of your site. This returns your entire site in a JSON format. So let's check out. I have one right here. Okay, let's just do this. I have one test site here. So this is going to return our entire WordPress site in JSON format here. So all this is the normal site we'll see, but without the UI, just in JSON data. I have a JSON data formatter. So, okay, this is what we have now. So I'm sure I'm assuming we are all developers, so we understand when we see data like this. So let's move on. Where the magic happens. The combination of WordPress and React is possible because of WordPress REST API, like I earlier stated. You can also create your custom WP REST APIs by using register REST route function. This is an inbuilt function that WordPress has already provided for us. Another thing that happens when developing with WordPress is there are so many functions and hooks already provided, like the add action that you can use that makes things a lot easier. So creating your own custom REST APIs, you can do that in a custom plugin, or you can do that in your themes function.php file. So I have a sample code here, that a sample code block that I can share just to get an idea of what it looks like using the REST route function. Register REST route function. So you're just going to have something like this that shows you, this is just an example. It shows you how you can use this register route function. So I created a sample React app for this talk. So we're going to be working with that, a working example. So what this app is doing is very simple and very straight to the point. It's basically just gets our data, like I stated, in JSON format, displays it in our UI on our React app. So just going over it again, gets data in JSON format from our REST APIs, from our WordPress REST APIs, and then display in our React app. Like I said, easy peasy. So let's check out the working example I talked about. So this is our React app, which I said I've already created. So just for us not to take so much time, I'm guessing we're all familiar with React and all the components and all the important things that are supposed to be imported. So I'll just get straight to it. We're going to be using a JS lightweight HTTP client called Axios to fetch data from our WordPress REST API. So there are so many ways you can do this, but personally, my favorite HTTP client is Axios. I prefer using Axios for some reason. It's just like really easy to use, or you can always use JavaScript fetch or whatever HTTP client you feel is better for you. But just for the sake of this conversation, I'll be using Axios. So let's check. Let's try to run our React app and see what happens. So from this code block, what I had done here was, first of all, I said what this app is doing is getting posts, all our posts from our WordPress site and display on our React app. So I already did a set state to post to be an empty state for posts. And here, when component mounts, I do a get request to this. So since we're gunning for posts, we're going to do the endpoint we're going to be using, calling to get all the posts from the site is, just as I earlier stated, wp-json /wp/v2/post. All this is available on the WordPress for developers documentation. You can easily find out which of the endpoints you can use for whatever you're trying to get. Maybe you're trying to get all the users. You can do v2/user wp/v2/users, or whatever you're trying to get at that point. But right now we're working with posts. So if we go to this URL on the web, it's going to show us a JSON format of all our posts. So this is what we have. This is JSON format of all the posts. This is a new site, so there really not so much posts. They're just one post, your default post when you first create a WordPress site. Welcome to WordPress. This is your first post. Edit it or delete it, then start writing. So I guess this just gives us an idea of what we are doing. So I do a get request using Axios to get all the posts available on the site. Map out the data in our render function. That is, the render function in React displays what you're trying to render to the front end. So in our case, we are trying to get all the posts and render all the posts. So we have it in content and rendered. Yeah, so let's move on. So that's why we're doing this here. So another thing I would like to state is that WordPress by default returns data with the HTML tags, this HTML tags. So you can use any of the JavaScript library to format your text into something that is going to be displayed clearly without, sometimes the text is going to be displayed clearly without the HTML tags, except you need the tags displayed on your site, or that is what you're aiming for. But I think it's just best to clean it up. So that's why I'm using React HTML parser. It's a library that, it's a JavaScript library that's going to clean that up for us and just display our text exactly how we want it displayed. So we can run this now. Okay, so our text from our WordPress site that was given to us in JSON format is being rendered like a plain text with our list in a listed format using UL and LI just in a normal text. So I guess this just gives you the basic idea of what using a different front end library while building your back end with WordPress and PHP. So I guess this just shows you what it looks like and what it should be like. So this is a React app that gets all your posts from your WordPress site. So we can move on back to the slide. So just like I said, easy peasy. So this brings us to the question, what would you build next? So first, to go through the steps again. get your data from your WP site in JSON format so you can access the REST APIs, get your React app up and running, install your favorite HTTP clients, or use the normal JavaScript fetch, get whatever data you need and display it on your front-end UI. So thank you, everyone. So that's it. You can follow me on Twitter at JastrupGeeky5th. This is a very funny username because I don't know, for some reason I keep losing my Twitter account. So this is the fifth one, so that's why the username looks funny. And if you need to get the sample code I just displayed, it's on GitHub. My GitHub profile /JS for WP. I just named it that, so you can easily get it if you need it. And thank you. You can ask questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mike. I didn't know that I was muted. Thank you, Adejoke, for that wonderful talk. I have two questions for you. Yes, thank you, Mike. I will have two questions for you here. The first one says, what's your opinion on using Vue instead of React? Would it work?
Okay, so can everybody hear me? Okay, so for there's really no special difference. Just depends on you and what you want to. Just depends on you and what you're comfortable with and what you want to use. So for me, I feel like, okay, React is best for me to use, while someone else like Precious or Sadiq can prefer to use Vue. So it's just a matter of preference. There isn't any much difference.
Okay, thank you for that. So another question, Precious is asking, so when connecting to WP-JSON, is there like a kind of authentication process?
Yeah, you can go through the WordPress for developers documentation, depending on what you want to do and what you want to access. Like, for example, accessing the poster is not protected, I think, if I'm 100% sure, but I'm not 100% sure right now. Or it's not protected, so you don't have to go through any words. But if I'm trying to use, let's say, WooCommerce APIs, REST APIs, then I might probably need to go through a words process to first of all get access to the site and get access to products. Like, products are protected before I can go on with it.
Awesome. Precious, I hope you got that answer. All right. I think Adejoke can still spend like 5 more minutes with us, just in case if any other person has any other question for her.
Okay.
Okay. Also, you may want to paste in your Twitter link in case any other person wants to reach out to you on Twitter. You could just put a link.
Okay, that's true.
In a comment box.
Okay, so you can reach out to me on Twitter. So I'll just be sharing my Twitter link. You can ask more questions if you have any. And I just want to say, everybody, keep using WordPress. WordPress rocks. So that's it.
All right. We have one question here from you, for you from Mike. He says, how long have you been working with React?
Well, I've been working with React for a year. So, but basically, I focus more on back end now. So React is more front end. So I just work on React based on personal projects, just to build my self development in terms of being a much more better programmer and a developer. So, but yeah, let's just say yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Also, we have another question. How would you go about installing React instead of WordPress project comparatively to using the Create React app?
Can you take that again, please?
Okay. How would you go about installing React inside of a WordPress project comparatively to using the Create React app?
Okay, that question is a good question because I like to find out why people don't like to use Create React app. So if you don't want to use Create React app, that everything has already been done for you, and you feel that you are a hard worker developer, and if you want to do everything yourself, of course you can do everything yourself. So you have to be the one to set up your servers, and basically you have to set up everything from scratch on your own. So it's not compulsory, you don't have to use Create React app.
Great. We have another question from Joe. It says, where do you see React and WordPress going in terms of uses, the short term and the long term?
Well, based on how popular JavaScript is becoming, React, Vue, and the rest of them, I don't think they are going anywhere. They're just going to keep advancing and evolving. And I think more people are going to adopt this method of development. And I see much more people using this method. So